Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
A change in East Moline's leadership and a covenant between police, schools, and its citizens in the cities. There's an ongoing mission to improve race relations in the cities and to limit racial bias by police while encouraging personal responsibility among all citizens. More on a new covenant in the cities is coming up, but first, a new mayor in East Moline. There could be a sea change in the cities. There will be new mayors in Rock Island, East Moline, and perhaps even Moline. There are also continued searches for new city administrators in Rock Island and Moline, with East Moline's administrator relatively new to the job. So that means we'll see new perspectives to governing in each of the major Illinois Quad cities. So what will that mean? We start tonight with East Moline's mayor-elect, former police chief Reggie Freeman. Chief Freeman won this month's Democratic primary, faces no challenger in the April election. So the last vote was the big vote when it came to the city of East Moline. You really did well as far as the vote count is considered. Do you see that as a mandate? And if so, what does that mean to you?
Well, mandate, I think the people from the times I've been living in East Moline and with the police department employed by the city of East Moline, they look at me as a person that got a lot of effort and is going to put that effort forth to try to make East Moline come back a little bit to what we used to be.
You really want to make it a full-time job too. I mean, perhaps not in pay, but obviously yes, in reality for you as far as work is concerned, right?
Basically, I'll be retiring from the position that I have with the Secretary of State's office, and I will be putting all my effort in, hours and so forth, to try to come to the mandates that I was proposing to the citizens of East Moline.
And one of the biggest areas still seems to be economic development and finding new ways to raise the tax base in East Moline. Critically important to each community. Why East Moline in particular? I
mean, again, people have heard me say this all along the campaign trail and so forth. You look to the east of us, Silvis is booming with big businesses, smaller businesses, and residential that's increasing their tax revenues. And if you look to the west of us, Moline is still continuing to raise their revenues and so forth. So I think East Moline, we have the areas to do it in, and it takes a lot of work that we need to get out there and look at the development that could be coming to East Moline.
Well, let's talk about those areas, because one of the areas is the old Case plant. Major developments planned along there, plans along the riverfront as well, and I know that downtown, the core of the city, is so critically important to really the lifestyle of the entire community as well. So hit each one of those, because we're seeing stuff happening already in East Moline. It's just pushing it along right now.
Basically, you know, one step at a time. It's been in position about 4 years now, and what we're looking at is the good point of it is that we received 2 Class A ratings from some studies that were done, and Triumph has taken them 2 class ratings and has looked at the point of saying, hey, this is a go and this is going to be a good development for East Moline. So they've committed to funding part of the project.
Destination is so important, yeah. And I would think that the fact that I believe it's a version of a Hyatt hotel that it would be coming to East Moline, that would be one of the first major hotels for that area, and that makes it creating a destination. I mean, is that not critically important for you?
Oh, it's really critically important. You know, as you said, first hotel in East Moline, and we'll be receiving a 1% sales tax as far as that hotel is concerned. We'll also be receiving a 1% hotel-motel tax, which is the first in East Moline.
But also it makes it a destination. I mean, you could perhaps have conventions, you can have conferences, you can have small events and meetings, and just getting people in through the door, then you get to sell what you have.
That's correct. And just right down the street, we have the developments going on River Drive through Moline. We have the Western Illinois University. And yes, I think once this development starts going and starts growing and adding, it's going to be a great asset to the city of East Moline.
Because when you're looking at like other cities, you see developments that are leaving and are mostly on the outside fringes. They're growing out. But the core of East Moline, where the old, like I said, the old Case plant was, I mean, that's like in the near the heart of the city. And to see those things develop, I mean, that kind of is nice because you're growing from the inside out.
And of course, you look down and it's the riverfront. You know, Davenport's got their riverfront, Moline has their riverfront, and we're trying to get to that stage of bringing things to that particular area and making things happen.
What would you like to see downtown? Because like so many of the downtowns, they're not that commercial district that they used to be. And they really become, in so many ways, shells of buildings that they used to be. But in so many other ways, that's a key area for development. People are loving refurbishing some of these buildings.
And I've looked at a couple of different cities like LeClaire and a couple other ones. And I don't think we'll ever have the nightlife like you'll see Davenport and Moline has. But I think we could come up with some kind of theme. And working with the Main Street development down there, or the businesses, I think we could come up with something that, some type of theme would draw people downtown.
So you said through your campaign that you did obviously talk to voters. What did you hear? I mean, what did people really say that expressed that there was their biggest concern or their biggest joy about East Moline?
Well, the biggest joy is that, for one, great to raise a family, school systems and so forth. And one of the biggest thing is keeping people here. And trying to bring in decent jobs to where people would love to stay and so forth. You have so many younger kids or young adults that are leaving the area for better jobs and so forth.
Or any job.
Or any job. But our development, people are saying, we love East Moline. And I love East Moline, and that's why we're going to fight to the end till we get to where we were once before.
You've seen some industrial development, or at least, excuse me, at least some warehouse development over by Quad City Downs. Is that an area that you're hoping to see further development?
We're going to be looking at the whole city, Jim. We're not
Sure.
just going to be sitting down. In my campaign trail, what I had said there too is Watertown, downtown, and uptown. That's what we're going to be looking for.
That's the whole city, isn't it?
That's the whole city.
But East Moline is known for a few things: a prison, which is employment, and state, it's a state government, so you don't really get tax money from there, but you do supply services,
Right.
so there is some income there. People know it for the fairgrounds, being way on the south side of East Moline. I mean, are there little jewels that you're building upon? I mean, what do you hope to see? Because I heard that you may look for some changes for the fairgrounds facility.
Well, basically, when I mentioned that, that's what I'd heard on the campaign trail. People were suggesting maybe the fairgrounds might be interested in moving. But even if they were thinking about moving to the Downs or whatever, the developer there, or I should say the property owner, they have some different mandates from the state, and I would be willing, and I am going to sit down with them and see what their outcome is for the future.
How important is retail growth? I mean, you're really not that much on the John Deere corridor, which seems to be where all the retail growth is. You look over at Rock Island, that's trying so hard to get some bigger base for retail taxes. How is East Moline hoping to do that? Because as you did, you pointed out Silvis, which is also, on a corridor where you have a lot of traffic.
Well, we have to bring in the revenue, and like I said earlier, is that revenue is what I ran on my campaign, and that helps lessen the burden of the taxpayer. But you can't do things without revenues, and that's why you got to go out, little businesses, big businesses, and residential. That's what we have to look for.
You're a police chief. You know the city. You know each of the streets in each of the neighborhoods. We're going to be talking a little bit about race relations and police and community interactions a little bit later on in this program. What is your viewpoint as far as from the East Moline situation? I mean, you know of the crimes in East Moline and crimes nationwide or regional wide. How do you put East Moline compared to other Quad cities?
Well, you take East Moline as a low crime rate once you get your yearly reports from the federal government. And I think I've been gone 13 years, but as I monitor the situation as we're going on, we haven't had any real blowouts like we've seen nationally here in the last 2 years.
Nothing like that in crime.
And I was, one of the first public relations officers, and I also started our Officer Friendly program. And I believe Chief Reynolds is following that to the T about being involved with the community and public relations.
And is that really the key thing, is community outreach? And when it comes to policing, or even as mayor, any type of community outreach and communication? I mean, how critically important is that, and how will you try to improve that, I guess, for East Moline?
Well, basically, the old theory is that you treat a person the way you want to be treated, and that goes for both ends. And the other thing is, with the community groups that are within the city as we speak, I think they will and we will continue to work with them. And it's all about contact. It's all about working with people. It's always about working together.
One last area I want to get into is that, as we said, since you won the Democratic primary in March, you have no opponent in April, making you the mayor-elect, so to speak.
Correct.
But also in April, East Moline voters will decide whether or not they should get rid of partisan elections altogether and make them nonpartisan, with the belief that perhaps more people will get actively involved and that the parties don't really mean anything at such a local, low level. That would be the argument. What do you say to people who are thinking about that vote in April, about making elections in East Moline nonpartisan?
I've been a Democrat all my life, and I've all the way through my parents and uncles, aunts and uncles, whatever it might be. But basically, it is going to be on the ballot, as you said, and whatever the turnout is, I will accept what the voters of East Moline decide to do.
Do you have a personal opinion or preference?
I'm a Democrat, but whatever the voters decide to do, I have to respect their wishes.
Do you think that it gets more participation from how do I say this? Obviously, a partisan election did not stop you from running.
No.
But do you think it stopped some other people, perhaps?
Oh, yes. People from the Arsenal. My neighbor's one. He was planning on running for alderman, but he found out that he couldn't run because of the rules and regulations through the federal government. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are involved in that same situation. And there's very talented people out there. So whatever the voters of East Moline decide to do on April 4th, I will respect their wishes.
Well, you won the election. What do you say to those people that did vote for you, and as well as perhaps the people that did not vote for you?
They made it happen.
Yeah.
They made it happen. They went to the polls and they cast their vote for me with the trust that I had presented to them all along.
Surprised or not surprised?
Surprised? No, we had a feeling.
Yeah.
We jumped there saying we're going to win,
Yeah.
so we won.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Reggie Freeman, the mayor-elect of East Moline, joining us. Now, in a moment, as I said, improving race relations throughout the cities. But first, a chance for you to discover some events in our area that makes living here so great. Here's Laura Adams with ideas for you and your family if you go out and about.
This is Out and About for March 6th through 12th. Hi, I'm Laura Adams. Take a journey through history back to the 1960s and relive the creativity, love, and curiosity of the Fab Four at the Magical History Tour, a Beatles exhibition, opening at the Putnam Museum March 11th. Western Illinois University is holding the Illinois State Great Lakes Social Studies Conference on March 10th. Or dust off your thinking caps, grab your friends, and bring them to Port Byron American Legion for a trivia night. The Augustana Symphonic Band will perform their spring concert at Centennial Hall on March 11th, and fresh off their Midwest tour, the Augustana Choir presents a concert at Centennial on the 12th, while the Quad City Brass Quintet present Pirates and Jazz at the First Congregational Church in Moline on the 12th. The Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball Tournament is coming to the iWireless Center March 9th through 12th, or dress like it's the 1920s at the Big Spiderbeck Birthday Bash at the Rhythm City Casino March 10th, featuring local and national jazz bands. Rumors, a comedy by Neil Simon, is opening at Playcrafters Barn Theater in Moline. The musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown opens at the Black Box Theater on March 10th, plus Circa 21 is holding auditions for their children's musical Big Nate. It takes place March 12th at 10 a.m. Bring photo and resume and sheet music in a proper key and be prepared to read from the script. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. On Tuesday, area mayors, police, school leaders, and a group called the Village of 1,000 Elders signed a covenant, pledging to do more to combat racial bias in the cities. It's been a grassroots effort born more than 2 years ago out of racial issues nationwide that were mirrored here at home. Simply put, it's an effort to use dialogue to diffuse. And joining us is a founder of the Village of 1,000 Elders, Reverend P. Wonder Harris, and Moline Police Detective Scott Williams, who's also well known for Crime Stoppers. So we thank you both for joining us. And Reverend, tell me a little bit about this. Why this covenant? Why now?
We put the work in almost 3 years now, and working with 6 cities, Hampton, Silvis, East Moline, Moline, Rock Island, and Milan. And so we've come to a point where the community, particularly the police officers, the schools, are understanding what it is that we're doing. So now we're ready to make the announcement to say, okay, let's do this. We have a model that works.
You have started very much on a grassroots effort.
Correct.
I mean, it has been step by step by step.
Correct.
I take it this is just one more step. This isn't the end all.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
No.
So explain that to me.
Well, we're at a point here now where we understand that it's working, and we have the key was to develop a model that was sustainable. You're familiar with programs, and programs, they start out with a bang and then they fizzle.
Absolutely.
And so what we say is programs are like cut flowers. They look good for a while, then they wither. But what we're doing is planting a tree. And so to plant a tree, you got to do a lot of work on the front end. So that's what you've been seeing, what people didn't see over these last almost 3 years is digging, working with people, talking, sharing the vision. Mostly sharing that this is too heavy a lift for any one side to do all the lifting. It takes all of us working together. And so we've been proving that. So then we come together after we've done the work and say, okay, let's tell the community, here's where we are. So
Well, Detective Williams, this is also a story that you want to give as well. I mean, you want to point out that the police are a part of the community and that it shouldn't be we versus them. I mean, how critically important is something like this?
That's extremely important, Jim. As you know, we enforce the laws with the community, not on the community. And we've always had our hands out. And when Reverend Harris, when they all put together this village and reached out to us, it was a no-brainer to want to get behind that. I know Mayor-elect Freeman, along with East Moline Police Chief Reynolds, helped develop the program, and it's common sense. It's a good thing. It doesn't fit a national narrative. It's something where something positive has come out of maybe some things nationally that were negative. We're excited about it. It's something our officers are trained on, and it just seems that it's something that once everyone gets, everybody thinks it's a great thing.
It is something, though, that each of the Quad Cities has actually taken a look at and has been an issue. I use Davenport, perhaps, as an example with the St. Ambrose, ongoing St. Ambrose University study that shows that racial profiling is often used in traffic stops or for targeted enforcement in certain neighborhoods where the crime rate has gotten too high. I mean, is that a sensitivity issue when it comes to our police opinion makers, our police department leadership, as well as the street cops, the guys that are out on the roads?
I think so, because even those numbers are subjective. When you look at them and you fully understand that it makes sense that you would maybe have more stops in a certain area just because of the makeup of that certain area. And we respond to areas where people call us. We're there to serve the citizens in all communities, in all segments. And so when we're there doing that, we'd like to feel we're working with our citizens and we're doing it on their behalf. So sometimes when you look at stats and numbers, maybe they don't tell the true story. And when you have dialogue and your programs like this is when you break down an awful lot of the misconceptions and barriers, and it's a very good thing to have.
Because targeted enforcement kind of does make sense when it comes to making sure that you're there where the crime occurs. Right. But you're really pointing out is that it is a community effort and that people really have to be a part of a two-way street here.
Absolutely. It takes, once I understood what happens on the traffic stop and how dangerous that is for a police officer, then I realized that that's why we need the motorist to understand what that means for this officer. And so they're very tense, they're alert, and so, but there are things that we can do as motorists to help reduce that. And that's how former chief, and of course our mayor-elect now Freeman, and current chief now Reynolds, helped me put together a police stop brochure in which we train people about, here's what you do in the traffic stop. And so it's been very helpful.
Are you worried that perhaps you're reaching the people that you would reach anyhow? Do you know what I mean? Is that there are people who, young men, it's like, no, it's my way or the highway. Every young person is that way, men in particular, or young boys or teenage boys and all that. And that you're talking to people that, yes, they're already on board. I mean, how do you reach the people that are the 16, 17, 18-year-old drivers who are going, I'm doing fine, and you're just another member of law enforcement or an authority figure who's trying to hold me down?
Well, what we do is we share with our approach to all citizens is to, first of all, get them what I call reset their thinking. That there are only two ways to turn on the lights and sirens of a police car. First way is within law enforcement. They see something, turn on the lights. Second way is we as citizens dial 911. And when we dial 911, we don't care who's coming. We just want them to turn on the lights, turn on the noise, bear down, come with it.
Absolutely.
So because we're not concerned about who comes when we dial 911, then it makes sense that we work together. So I ask kids, when you dial 911, do you ask, well, who's calling? Well, no. I said, well, then it makes sense then that we work together. And that's how I've been able to diffuse and get people to come on board who have some apprehension about police officers.
One of the other big areas that you talk about as far as the covenant is concerned, as well as all of the issues that you have, is personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Explain that to me, because it seems to make sense, but like I said, the younger you are, the less personal responsibility you might have.
Well, I didn't know in a traffic stop, if I'm busy digging in my pocket and the officer's walking up, that they don't know what that reaching is. They might think I'm reaching for a weapon. So I have a responsibility to behave in such a way that doesn't heighten a misunderstanding about what I'm reaching for. So now we know that I should keep both hands on the steering wheel and only have movement once that officer understands what that movement is. So that's one area where a citizen can make a movement without realizing that suggests something that, a danger that the officer has to respond to.
Now this, of
And
course,
they'll have split seconds to make that decision.
and misunderstandings can
Right.
occur in that split
Right,
second.
right.
Scott, when we're talking about the covenant, I mean, it involves civic groups, the community, police, and schools.
Right, and schools.
How is the police department reaching out in those areas? Because it seems like you're in the schools a lot, and you are doing, you in particular, are doing a lot of community policing, community information. I mean, how does this make it easier, better, or does it complicate things?
I think in a way it kind of amplifies and shows the community reaching back. So here you have the faith community coming forward saying, look, this is what we've put together to kind of address the issues we see. This is how we want to train our village, the people that make up our group, and we want you to be aware of it. And when they asked us to do that, it was real easy to get behind. So then this is just another thing, I guess, to reach back. What are we doing? We try to do everything. Like you say, we're in the schools, we have community policing efforts. Just the mindset of the individual officers, they go out throughout their day, we try to make a difference and solve the problems, not just put a Band-Aid on it, but try to work through ongoing problems. And that's what we bring back to the police department to kind of get our heads around and how we can fix it, just not address issues at the time, but long term. And with all of our efforts, this one was an easy one to get behind.
I don't want to oversimplify something, but oftentimes it's like a pendulum swing, is that everything's fine, the pendulum swings one way, and you have real police confrontations with inner cities we saw nationwide. And then it's starting to swing perhaps the other way. Is that what you're seeing at all? Like I said, I'm oversimplifying it, and all you need is one more spark on an ember, and then things can change.
I think that's just the nature of law enforcement, is the roller coaster, the waxing and the waning of issues as they come forward. And this is a real calming, steadying influence, is that we never really see the extremes on either side, but there's far more good people than bad people. And when everybody gets together around a program that obviously is going to be around for a while and is solid in its grounding, no, I think it's a good thing to have, and not something that would be open to, the ups and downs and pendulum swings.
And Reverend Harris, we're talking about philosophies, but you also have a way of kind of illustrating it in a very real way, and I'm thinking of the wristbands
sure.
with the ZY, I always want to say XYZ, the ZYX ABC,
Right.
but also you started in 2015 those wristbands that say don't assume, verify.
Don't assume, verify.
What did you mean by that? Because we talked about that a few years ago, but that's an important, 3 words that are very important.
Racial bias dominates in the unknown. And so what happens if I don't know a person, then I make up stuff. And so we call this like a uniform for skin. And so we have a green and black wristband for kids, blue, and Scott's wearing his, blue and white one for the police. And the teachers have a gray and white wristband. And so if I don't know a person, then this uniform, if I know something about the uniform, it gives me a starting place. Mm-hmm. And so we'll never be able to tackle racial bias just by looking at skin. We got to have something else to work with. And so this provides a known, that I can start with this known and see, and then from there start to make the engagement. So how this dovetails into the school system is that one of my elders who works with me is Pastor Grimes. When he was in the 2nd grade, his 2nd grade teacher told his parents he would never be able to, would not be college material. 2nd grade, which means that 2nd grade, she's looking at a kid and something else is going on into her mind, because who can project that from 2nd grade? So we work with teachers to say that, and the teachers, educators, they wear these gray and white wristbands, which represents the gray and white matter of the brain. And the kids wear these green and black wristbands. So we say to the teachers, when you see a kid walk in, pause your assumption, teach to the brain and not skin. And the kid might be low income, but they have high potential. They can come from across the track, but they can go around the world. There's no limit to what they can achieve if you just teach them. And so we're saying that the last thing on that kid's mind should be that the enemy of their future is the teacher. And so the teachers embrace that, and this gives them a way to pause their bias and just teach to the kid. And so in our covenant, the green wristband is sandwiched between the educators and the parents and the police on the outer perimeter. We're saying the kid should never get to the police he has to go through the teacher and the kid to get there. So it's not just law enforcement, it's the whole community.
Everything is intertwined in so many different ways, and this is an example of that.
Right.
So where do you hope to go this year? I mean, you've got the covenant signed. Where do we go from here?
Where we go from here is this, is that our nation has the finest military on the planet. We have a great State Department. They work to protect us on the external, but inside it's law enforcement and citizens. So if we're busy fighting with each other, we leave ourselves exposed to attack from within. You can't go to the mall or school or wherever. So what we're saying is we must work together, reduce our suspicions, and work together. That keeps us safe, because working together we strengthen our security, preserve our freedom. So the intent is to, now we have a working model, we can share this with other cities, other communities around the nation, say, here's how we do it. It's not finger pointing, it's not blaming, but it's working together.
It's an open dialogue.
Absolutely.
And keep it going, and everything intertwined.
And it works.
Reverend P. Wonder Harris,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Detective Scott Williams, always a pleasure as well.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much. An annual children's event is already sold out once again. Tickets for WQPT's Imagination Station went quickly after being offered to the public last week, and we hope to see you March 18th for our Children's Festival, where you can meet Mr. Steve from PBS Kids and some of your favorite PBS stars like Clifford, Curious George, and Daniel Tiger. And remember, we need you more than ever right now at WQPT. Throughout this week, you're seeing some of the special programs you'll see nowhere else but your local public broadcasting station. By donating to WQPT, you make events like Imagination Station and programs like The Cities possible. So please consider a donation that allows us to continue both our broadcasts and our outreach programs that actually reach thousands of families each year. Head to WQPT.com for details. And as always, on the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device, thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.